Risk and compliance, it's rarely about black and white decisions. A lot of it is judgment, influencing, you're balancing competing priorities. I would always say try everything.
So give them less reports, don't overwhelm them with like a 60-page document. So
I think women can bring more in terms of like collaboration and communication and just considering a kind of broader range of perspective.
We've done retail and banking and automobile and telecommunications.
We could just press a button and it would draft a test plan, a massive time saving.
Welcome to Spotlight on Women in GRC, a podcast series counting down to the Women in GRC Awards 2026 on the 2nd of July. Backed by key sponsor CoreStream GRC, this series shines a light on the women shaping governance, risk and compliance, exploring their backgrounds, experiences and perspectives on what's changing across the industry. I'm your host, Lucy Montague, and today I'm joined by Nikki. Hello, Nikki.
Hi, Lucy. Thank you for having me.
Oh, so pleased you could be with us. Really excited to dive into your role. Yeah. So Nikki, could you just start off by introducing yourself, talking about your current role and a bit about your career journey?
I certainly can. So I'm Nikki Absolom. So I currently work in tax technology and transformation at IVS Evidensia, but I am literally on week 3 in the role, so very, very new. But my previous role before that, I was head of controls at Pets at Home for just over 4 years.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And
do you want more?
Nikki, well, I was just going to say, if we can go back to the beginning, what drew you into the world of governance, risk and compliance, and where did you kind of go to get yourself into the role that you're currently in? So
as with a lot of people, I started off in the Big Four. So I did 4 years there, and then I moved to Vodafone, where I was in an external reporting role. But not long after I'd been in that role, something that nobody had heard of came along called Sarbanes-Oxley. So this was the proper early days of SOX when it was just being rolled out in the US. And when we found out that foreign private issuers needed to comply, a team was set up, and I was the second person recruited onto the SOX team at Vodafone. So basically I spent about 5 years just rolling out SOX across Vodafone and getting it up and running. So that was quite a strong introduction to risk and controls. And I think that the best bit about it was learning from all of the 28 operating companies that we had at the time, because they were all asking questions to us about what they needed to do. So we had to find out the answers. So quite quickly, I got quite technical on SOX and PCOB and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of my big introduction to governance, risk and controls.
And from then?
And from there I took a bit of a detour, I guess. So because my last role at Vodafone was a part of their global SAP implementation. So I kind of getting my fingers dirty with a bit of finance transformation, systems implementation. And then I took redundancy from there and had a spell contracting. So I worked for a few different places, BMW, rolling out internal controls at BMW, and some risk and controls at Nationwide. And then I took a contract at Vets for Pets, which was part of Pets at Home. And that was that was finance transformation, systemsy stuff. But then when Provision 29 was starting to rear its ugly head, well, the corporate governance code was kind of in draft, and we realised that Pets at Home would need to get some internal controls in place. The head of internal audit at the time, she knew that I had a dirty past at Vodafone in SOX, so she put my name forward to help out on that. And I was kind of in two minds at the time as to whether it was a good thing to do from a careers perspective, because I'd already got SOX on my CV. So did I really need to get back into it? But I think the driving factor behind it was that it comes back to work-life balance. So at the time I had relatively young kids still. I had really good flexible working at Pets, and working part-time flexibly. So and really I knew that the hours that I worked at Pets I would never get if I went anywhere else. So it's like, well, if I'm here to stay for the foreseeable just because it fits my personal life, then to do something new and different and really kind of set something up and get frameworks in place and roll it out, that was, it seemed actually it's a way of staying and keeping my work-life balance, but also giving myself a bit more of a challenge as well, and using some of the IP that I developed previously at Vodafone.
Yeah. So you've covered a variety of sectors. You've done retail and banking and automobile and telecommunications. What was your favourite, or what was the one that you felt most comfortable in? And how much did they differ in regards to what they needed you to focus on, and how much of it was a similarity?
Yeah, they're all pretty different, I guess. But I guess controls are controls wherever you are, right? But I think financial services wasn't keen. I just didn't enjoy it there. That one didn't last long. Whether it's a people thing, whether it's a banking thing, but that wasn't for me. So when I've been looking at roles recently, it's like, no, financial services is off the list. I don't want to go back there. Retail, I think it's been good to do, but it's quite a tough industry, and again, it's something I looked at going back into, but I wasn't that bothered by. BMW is quite fun just because it's cars and stuff, and everyone likes a bit of cars, don't they? But yeah, I think it was really working in the vet group at Pets. It's quite a special place to work. Just in terms of some of the emotions of the people involved, everyone loves working with pets, right? So that was kind of when I was looking for new roles. It's like, well, actually IVC, it's not that far away, and it's a world that I really enjoyed working in. So that's why I've come back to my roots a little bit and gone back into the vet world.
Aww. So for any kind of new starters in the GRC world, would you recommend them trying out various different industries to get a feel of the different cultures? Or do you think maybe pick one that you think naturally you're going to suit to and just kind of maybe company hop within that sector?
I would always say try everything, because I think even though I've gone from one vet group to another, they're really different companies, and they're more different than I would have expected them to be. It's been quite interesting, even though I'm only a couple of weeks in. So so I would always say jump around. I've got an agriculture degree, but I'm an accountant. That's quite an unusual one as well. So anything to get breadth of experience, for me, that's I like change. I thrive on change. So actually being in the same industry, I think I just get bored.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a way of keeping it lively, because you might be doing the same thing. You might still be doing GRC, which is relatively generic, if you like, but actually applying it in different ways in a different industry. That's where you get a bit of a challenge and excitement.
Spices it up.
Exactly. and God knows it needs it, right?
Well, we move on to quite an interesting question then. Women make up roughly 50% of the entry-level roles in GRC, yet only around 17% of chief risk officers and 14% of chief compliance officers are women. Why do you think that gap exists? What happens along the way?
So in my view, I think it's what women want, and it's really personal choice, I think. I mean, personally, I was juggling my work life with kids. I do quite a lot of sport as well, so I've always erred towards organisations that promote flexible working, and I think, like a lot of other women that I know, a lot of my friends, they they will admit to staying in a role longer than they possibly should have, just because they wanted the stability. You know, when you've got the chaos of kids and family and sport and everything going on, and you're juggling at home, actually something needs to give a little bit, and actually having stability in your work life helps you to manage the chaos that's going on outside. So, and I think a lot of us, we're okay with that, you know. So you're less likely to be fighting for promotions when you've got all of that going on outside. So, you know, it's a lot easier to do a job that you know well than take a promotion in that kind of scenario. And I think it's also thinking about where you're getting your fulfillment. You know, really, at that stage, you're getting your fulfillment from bringing your kids up, seeing them develop and grow. So you don't necessarily need to get as much fulfillment out of work at that time in your life. So it's getting the balance right. And I think something that I found something quite critical in my career was when I took redundancy for Vodafone. I came out of quite a chaotic SAP implementation, and it was very stressful. It was quite traumatic. Try not to think about it. But and 10 years working in the same company. Whereas after that, I did a series of contract roles, and actually, as part of the contract roles, I learned, because you're only there for a fixed term, I learned that you can't get as emotionally invested in your job when you know you're only there for a short period of time. So therefore, you keep it at arm's length a bit more. And that really taught me work-life balance and how to actually be able to shut, you know, when you shut your computer screen, you shut work away for the day and you move on, and you don't think about it until the next morning. And for me, that was a really, really valuable lesson. And it's something that, you know, I continue to do, is to, just shut work in a box, and that, you know, that stays in that box, and everything else is in, you know, it's in the other box. And I think that's a really important thing, to be able to understand when you're getting too emotionally involved in your work and when you can step back from it.
Okay, so what you're talking about there is kind of priorities and the lifestyle that you're looking for, and kind of working out within yourself where it is you want to be in 5 years' time. Because sometimes you see these like flashy job titles or these promotions, but you also need to reflect on how it's going to impact your home life, your mental health, and all those other different things.
Yeah. Exactly. Summed it up a lot better than I did.
Well, it's interesting because everyone has such different opinions on this, and it is a bit of a, it's a little bit controversial talking about it, but I think it's good to have these conversations and lean into the challenge of it, or otherwise it's just this unspoken kind of question mark of why is the gap the way it is. I'm gonna throw another challenging question at you. Are you ready? Have you personally experienced any barriers or biases in your career, and how did you navigate them?
So I would say generally no. I mean, at least not in terms of being a woman. But I think there are just some things more where, and I think possibly this is more like due to home working, because the last couple of years I've been on a work from home contract because my local office shut and the head office is a 3-hour drive away. And I think when you're in a compliance type role, it really helps to be in people's faces, because quite often compliance stuff doesn't get done unless you're nagging people, right? So being in a working from home role and doing GRC, I think that is quite hard, and I think that I possibly missed out on being given additional opportunities because I wasn't in the office as much. So I think, you know, I think that's just kind of how it was, and I kind of get why, but at the time it was a bit of a frustration, because I think it didn't work as well the way it was, but there was a reason for it.
And do you think that, yes, and I don't know how long ago that was, do you think it would be the same kind of post-COVID hybrid working era now and the way technology is now, or do you still think that face-to-face interaction for a compliance professional is quite critical for progression?
Yeah, so this was relatively recent. So yeah, this was post-COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, I do think that and looking at and it's difficult, right? Because like when I was looking at roles, I'm looking at, a lot of controls roles are London based because a lot of the PLCs are based in London. And I'm looking at them thinking, they all kind of want 3 days a week in London. I don't know that I want to do that, but I think it's right for the role.
Yeah.
So basically, I decided not to go for roles in London just because I again, work-life balance, that is more than I'm prepared to do, and I think that's okay. And I know that is cutting out opportunities. But for me, my work-life balance is too important for that. I don't want to spend 2.5 hours a day commuting. It's I just have no
Got other things to do.
Yeah, exactly. My life is too important to sell my soul to work to that extent.
Fair enough. Do you think women can bring a different perspective to risk and compliance leadership and initiatives? And if so, how?
So this is quite an interesting one, because from the very early days, and I'm talking, I don't know, 20 years ago probably, there was all the talk about you need more women on board, you need to, get the gender balance right. And I was quite cynical about it in those days, because the women that I saw being promoted onto boards were the ones that kind of had a lot of male characteristics. And I think that is changing. I think now you are getting more women in more senior positions that are bringing some of the more feminine characteristics. So the communication and some of the, I call it pink fluffy stuff, the more empathetic style and all that kind of stuff. So I think that is definitely coming. And I think from a GRC perspective, I think women can bring more in terms of like collaboration and communication, and just considering a kind of broader range of perspectives. And that's all critical stuff for GRC. And yeah, I think risk and compliance, it's rarely about black and white decisions. A lot of it is judgment, influencing, you're balancing competing priorities, all that kind of stuff. So I think having kind of more diverse leadership, then that's only going to help that and lead to more balanced outcomes.
Love that. Soft skills for the win.
Yeah, absolutely.
How can organisations do a better job of supporting women into leadership roles in GRC? So from 20 years ago to now, and these more like feminine, softer, skill-led women coming into board, how do you think that's happened?
So I think really it's how an organisation is able to support women into that. And I think really it's about giving people, because when I was saying before about how, I feel that some women stay in roles longer than they should because it works for them. So I think that there's a bit around helping people to develop in the roles they're in, and stopping them coming stale, but without overstretching them. So, because if they're trying to keep safe, how can we increase their remit so that they're still getting some development, being stretched, but in more manageable ways? And then also I think, it's just about normalizing flexibility, being really clear that working flexibly can improve output. And for me, being able to work part-time at points in my career, that made a massive difference, and it allowed me to stay in the game without compromising my life outside work.
You at Pets at Home, you've got a number of female team members who actually have left you really lovely recommendations on LinkedIn. So they call you a trusted partner, a friend, a brilliant GRC leader. With those ladies in particular, what did you do to help them with their careers and their roles, and as you say, not make it feel stale?
Good question. I think just kind of, it's passing on the benefit of your experience. I think, it's more the mentorship role. So if there's things that they're struggling with, just being a sounding board for them to talk things through with. And just being really open and honest. I think, I've always been very open and honest, and I think, people really appreciate that. And it means that they really know where they stand, but giving them the freedom that no question is a stupid question, so that they're always going to ask what's on their mind, and then they're always going to get an answer. Whether it's the answer they want is another matter, but they'll always get an answer.
So creating that psychologically safe space to be able to have those candid conversations.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, love that. Was there a moment in your career where you had to take a leap in confidence or really back yourself, and what did that look like?
So I guess for me, and this comes a little bit back to having been in a role for a while and potentially getting a bit stale in it, thinking what I could do to kind of add another arrow to my bow or whatever. And for me, that was the opportunity to be an independent non-exec director at British Weightlifting. So weightlifting is something close to my heart. It's I'm a CrossFitter really, but my daughter's a weightlifter, and they needed a finance non-exec director. And through my career, I've always volunteered for different organisations, but the opportunity to be on the board at British Weightlifting, it gives me a chance to use my professional career, but in a world I'm passionate about as well. And it's just gives you the feeling that you can really make a difference. So yeah, it's just something that I really enjoy. And it's like, because at the time it's like, they're never going to want me, I've not got any board experience or anything like that, but actually what I did have suited what they needed. And I think that's a lot of what you get with non-exec roles. It's have you got the experience that they want at that point in time, and how does it fit in with the rest of the board experience and that kind of thing. And it just so happened that it was a good fit. And so yeah, it's something that I really enjoy doing, because it's totally different, but it's a really interesting challenge at the same time.
I love that. So you can have the mindset of thinking, I've not done this before, I'm probably not the right person, but just push yourself and do it anyway, because you never know.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't even going to apply because I thought, oh, they won't want me, but actually they did.
Love. Hashtag inspo right there. So, Nikki, the reason why I know you is obviously you use CoreStream GRC when you're at Pets at Home. And you guys were one of the first to integrate in your AI LLM into our platform. And we get a number of kind of questions and queries and conversations about AI. So I was wondering if you could talk to me about your journey with moving into sort of AI powered GRC. Where did you start? How did it evolve over time? Because I'm sure a lot of people will be very interested.
Yeah, so I guess really the thing that we started with was really very basic. It was when we were doing some process documentation, we'd kind of got used to, through COVID, finding out that actually COVID was brilliant because it meant we got Teams, and then we could record our process discussions. So it was a lot easier to document them, being able to record the conversations. So actually we did most of them, didn't do them live because then it wasn't as easy to record them. We actually did them on Teams. But then quite quickly we worked out that if you can record it on Teams, then what you can do is put the transcript into AI, and then it will draft your process documentation for you. So that's kind of where we started. So that was quite a big time saving. But then we started looking with you guys at CoreStream, and then what bits were kind of repetitive or not value added that we were doing on CoreStream. And so that was things like writing test plans, because writing test plans it's really tedious, isn't it? But we got it linked to the LLM, so that we could where we've got a control written, we could just press a button and it would draft a test plan based on the control description. So that was a massive time saving. And then we also rolled it out for risk as well. So where, I can't remember now exactly which bits we used it for, but we definitely used it to draft, well, I think just to make the risk descriptions better, but also kind of drafting the causes, drafting potential KRIs, that kind of stuff. So it was, rather than like diving out into a separate system, we could just click on it within CoreStream, and it would do all the heavy lifting for us. So yeah, it was quite a big time saver.
Because you guys showcased it in our community event, and then we had other customers who were like, we want to petsify. we want to do what they've done, essentially. We want to save time. And yeah, you just continuously kept finding ways of saving time and just plugging in AI.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think we worked out that for the time saving on test plans, it was something like, it reduced the time taken to write test plans by about 65% or something, which when you've got a lot of test plans to write, that's a really big time saving that we could then use to do other things. So yeah, it was. But essentially, I'm inherently lazy, so whatever I can do to make my life easier, I will.
Yeah, well, that's what they say. If you want to improve a process, give it to your laziest colleague and be like, how do you do this in the quickest time? Yeah. And so speaking of AI and just obviously that transformation already, in the next kind of like 5 years, what do you see for GRC in the way that we could potentially automate and streamline some of these things?
I think there's opportunity for a massive shift, because still there's so much that is manual. So whether it's, I think continuous monitoring, that's got to be something that's just going to become an everyday thing. Better use of systems, improving data quality, things like embedding controls into processes rather than having them as kind of an extra layer on the top. It should all be kind of working together at the same time, and just much more kind of exception reporting, which is more automated. So yeah, just making compliance more efficient but more insightful at the same time.
And does it make you feel excited or fearful?
Oh, excited. It's always exciting when you've got change, right? Yeah. I think all the technology and automation, it's got to fundamentally change how we identify and manage risk. And also it will really help with integration, because now GRC it's still quite siloed. It wasn't pets anyway. It's different. Each team was very kind of siloed in what they were working out, what they were looking on. So I think it can only help integrate GRC across businesses, a lot more of the kind of enterprise risk management approach, and it's going to make that piece a whole lot easier, which and that's when you start to see the value from GRC, when you start to see the value across different parts of the business, and then having it, being able to manage and understand the full remit of it, and then work out what value that you derive from that. And I think as automation increases, then human judgment and ethical decision making, they start to become much more important as well. So I think more human time will need to be spent on that, because the AI and the automation and integration, that's going to be doing the heavy lifting.
Because obviously a few years ago you guys integrated CoreStream's policy management with your HR system, which obviously it wasn't an AI use case, but it just enabled you to streamline employ new starters coming in and just getting access to the relevant things from day one without anyone having to assign it. So those integration things is something you've always kind of had in the back of your mind when you think about your programs.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just making things as efficient as we can. And so kind of building in our policy management module, because we were rubbish at getting people to read policies, and people, just trying to find a way to know that people have read the policies that we're asking them to read was quite difficult, especially when you've got in a retail business where you've got people in stores that you're trying to get to confirm that they've read things. So we use CoreStream for read receipts, essentially. So we could send emails out to all the colleagues to say, right, you need to read this policy, and then when you've read it, you need to tick the box to say that you've read it. And so we had about 10,000 colleagues that some policies were going out to, but actually we were getting like an 80% completion rate for people reading them, which for a lot of retail colleagues was that was quite a big increase for us. So we were quite proud of that.
We love a number. We love a little result. Justify it all.
Yeah.
What are you and your team focusing on right now? I know it's very early days in this new role for you, but is there a trend or a regulation or a piece of tech that you're thinking about?
So at the moment, it's like, because I'm working in the tax team, it's all about making tax reporting more efficient and more effective. So again, it's looking at AI solutions that will help, whether it's tracking VAT processes, tracking corporate tax processes across a very large number of companies, to just tax reporting systems, because obviously you've just put in a new Oracle system, so we're currently working on the tax reporting side of that. But with everything, it's just technology, AI, continuous monitoring. Just where can we find the improvements, and where can we make step changes to keep processes efficient, and keep the amount of human resource we need to spend on these things down to a minimum, and freeing up human resource to do more of the judgmental things and the evaluation that we need to maintain our human in the loop for, rather than just leaving it all to AI to go and run away and cause chaos.
Love that. Best of luck with your search.
Thank you.
We're moving into influence now. So are there any books or podcasts or people who've had a meaningful impact on your career that you would recommend to others?
I was thinking about this. Not particularly. I mean, I guess I mean, for me, I kind of think some of it's the other way around, because I look at things outside my work life that actually influence my work life. So it's more, like there was one book I was reading about, I need to remember its name, how to talk so your kids will listen, and listen so your kids will talk. And so I got it in terms of basically getting my kids to do what I wanted them to do. So it's things like, you don't say, can you put a coat on, and they say no. You say, do you want your blue coat or your red coat? Because then the only answer is they're going to wear a coat. And so I think it's things like that that I've just taken and applied in my work life, because actually a lot of stuff you apply to kids works just as well in the office. And similarly, I read quite a lot of sporting biographies as well. So like there's one by Ben Hunt Davis, will it make the boat go faster? And everybody uses rowing analogies at work anyway, right? But he does a few more analogies, but he looks at how elite rowing translates into other areas of life, and actually quite a lot of that is really applicable to work as well. So
I like that.
That's maybe a couple.
You flipped it, Nikki. Very good. I like
it.
Yeah.
Got a little. So one of my favourite ones. It's about process efficiency that he's got, and so it's about when you're trying to get your kids to eat their cereal, and they're always late for school. It's like, can you? So instead of saying, can you hurry up and eat your cereal, because they're being really slow because they're eating one Rice Krispie at a time and really winding you up, what you do is you change it, and instead of giving them Rice Krispies, you give them Shreddies, because Shreddies are bigger. So it takes less time for them to eat the Shreddies because they're getting more food in their mouth in one go. So it's kind of flipping things around to look at it in a different way. And that you can apply to processes as well.
Or reporting.
How can you make it more efficient?
Yeah. So give them less reports. Don't overwhelm them with like a 60-page document.
No. Give them Shreddies.
Just one good dashboard.
Yeah. Or
no more
Weetabix, maybe.
Reports. Just one.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you're getting.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. I'm definitely going to take that away and have a good think. Okay, the last question is, what advice do you have for women just starting out in governance, risk and compliance, or considering a career in GRC? Do you have any tips for them?
Don't do it. Is that not said?
Nikki, it's a secret.
Yeah, I mean, it's not being afraid to get your hands dirty, isn't it? It's really getting into the nitty gritty to kind of really understand processes at the root level, and yeah, just always thinking about what is the most efficient way to do things, because a lot of time people that are doing the processes, they're just doing what they do because that's what they've always done, and they quite often don't have the opportunity because they're so busy on the hamster wheel. They never take a step back to think about actually how things have changed since they first started and what improvements they could make. So I think, yeah, just being able to take to understand the detail, but also being able to take this step back and think about the bigger picture, and also the integration between different processes. So again, avoiding the silo mentality. But I think one of the best things that I've always loved about GRC is that it gives you the remit to go and have a nose in any part of the business and really get under the bonnet of every team. And it's quite a privilege to have the remit to be able to just go and have a nose at everything. And I think that's probably why I've stayed in it, just because of the variety that you get to do and to look at. And especially with Provision 29 coming in, it takes a remit outside of finance, doesn't it? Because you're looking at risks across the whole business. So again, that gives you even more opportunity to go and stick your nose in and see what's going on and lift the bonnet. So so for me, that's what I've always enjoyed about it.
Okay, so a key skill is being nosy/curious.
Yes, absolutely. And lazy, inherently lazy.
Really selling it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Nikki. This has been a wonderful conversation. And you will be joining us at the Women in GRC Awards on the 2nd of July, because you are actually nominated. What are you nominated for?
Oh, Technology Leader of the Year? Is that right?
I think it's Technology Leader of the Year.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So we're wishing you all the best for that.
Thank
And we
you.
hope to see you all there. Thank you so much, Nikki.
Thank you.